This is Elliot and Jose coming to you from Dreamland Comics in Schaumburg, Illinois, on the Comic Culture Warrior video channel. This is the part where we call Last Rants. And this is where Jose and I revisit old topics, talk about something new. Again, as we say, none of this is scripted, none of this is planned. This is all seat of our pants kind of stuff. So if you think that some of the stuff we say isn't stuff we regret later.
I don't regret anything.
Well, whatever the case may be. I wanted to address a couple comments and questions that were made on the boards. There was some talk about Diggle taking over for Brubaker on Daredevil. And someone had said, how do they plan a writer leaving a book? Mm-hmm. Maybe, and the question was, maybe Elliot can give us some insight on that. I guess the assumption being, because I am a comic book writer, that I have some sort of inside information on that kind of thing. First, I don't. And from what I understand, though, from the number of writers that I've spoken with, the number of writers that I know who work in the industry, the decisions of who's going to write what, unless you're a big name in the industry, it's really kind of arbitrary. Mm-hmm. The fact that Brubaker is leaving Daredevil is not because the editor said you're not writing it anymore. If Brubaker wants to write Daredevil, he can write Daredevil. So chances are the reason he's not doing it is because he decided he'd had enough of it.
I do know the reason why Diggle is doing it, though, is because the Daredevil editor specifically asked for Diggle.
Oh, yeah, no.
So,
but
I
that's,
know that.
yeah.
I know that answer.
So Diggle's going to be on Daredevil because that's who they wanted.
Yeah, but
the fact that Brubaker is leaving is not because the editor wanted Brubaker off the book.
I'll tell you one thing, man. That Daredevil, the list that came out this week, what a whole lot of nothing that thing was. And Diggle wrote that, and I was expecting way more. Nothing. That issue was just completely useless. It really was.
I think the list books in general are pretty useless.
Well,
I mean,
two for two on the useless.
Yeah, that Avengers book was just really. Yeah. I was really disappointed as well. In either case, and I say that a lot too. That's another one of my cliches. I guess I say this all the time. When a writer is taken off a book, depending on the name. And I guess, we can even throw J. Michael Straczynski in there, too.
Well, he had a reason to leave.
Yeah.
So.
It's usually because if you're a name, the reason you're off the book is because you don't want to do it anymore. That's about it. No, so that's why I saw the change. I see the change occurring there. Another thing that was brought up was a comment that we had made during our the District 9 conversation about, if I remember correctly, life experience. And if you have a certain amount of life experience, you appreciated District 9 more. And a viewer, 3 reviews, I think, was their handle, really took exception to that. And again, first, I'm sorry if it offended you. That's the first thing. I don't go, the reason we don't make this show to be controversial or to piss people off. It's, again, just us having conversations and letting you in on it. Also understand that Jose and I have very different personalities. So if you direct a comment towards me, you're going to get a somewhat different answer than if you direct the comment towards Jose. Neither of us are going to really sugarcoat the way we are, So there are other 3 reviews, just so you know, there are other people on the boards who have felt this one's wrath. And so...
some of them are no longer posting.
Oh, no, but some still are.
Some still
are. No, some of them...
Actually, I want to bring this up. Just speaking of someone who still is posting, you had mentioned that that Ben Wonder had said a thing about that he no longer watches.
Doesn't watch Comic Book Club anymore.
Ben Wonder used to post on our videos all the time, but he hasn't gotten around to doing it. He must be really busy, or just doesn't like us anymore that much. But he actually,
no, I think a lot.
He actually made a comment on our last series of videos. That actually, I don't know. It was a very, I don't know. What the comment was, we were talking about the Disney thing, and he was like, he was actually very surprised about how optimistic I was about the whole Marvel thing.
Right.
And he said,
"Sky is falling." Yeah, because all the other fanboys are.
No, but
he's
like, no, I'm really surprised at how. He said, good for you. And I was just like, wow, that's probably one of the nicest comments I've ever gotten. Because, really. But to go back, Ben Wonder and I argued quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Especially during our feminist rants.
That's true, yeah.
So, but it was kind of cool that he doesn't comment a lot, but that was a pretty cool comment that he made because you kind of have to be optimistic, and I'm not optimistic about hardly anything, but the Disney thing is like, well, you really don't know what's going to happen about it. So.
Yeah. So, back to the issue of life experience. The only thing I was saying, 3 reviews, and I'll just put this back to my own experience. I know what kind of person I was when I was younger. And there's a lot of stuff that, Blade Runner, the movie.
Yep.
When I saw it as a kid, didn't appreciate it nearly as much as I liked it now. Mm-hmm. I remember when I saw Blade Runner when it first came out, I was kind of bored by it.
I completely agree. That's exactly how I felt when I saw it.
I was kind of bored. I was like, oh man, I was like those kids.
This is Han Solo.
Yeah, Han Solo. I want to see. I remember I went to see it with my dad. My dad took me to see it, and he didn't like it because he thought it was going to be Harrison Ford doing more like Dirty Harry with robots. And when we both walked out...
So he was expecting what District 9 led you to expect in the trailer.
Exactly. So, and I remember some of those old Blade Runner trailers where all they did was show the action sequences. So when I was a kid, I didn't get a lot of the subtext that was in the movie. I watch the movie now, and I'm just blown away with it. Why? Because I do have a different perspective. I've had a little more life experience over time that helps me appreciate more subtlety in drama. I mean, a lot of young kids, and again, I know I've spoken a sweeping generality. When you cast a wide net, you'll often catch a fish that shouldn't be in there. But when I was younger, I liked boom, pop, bang explosions. Now, when you're older, you appreciate more dramas. How many 13-year-olds are going to go see The Hours and like that movie? I don't think any of them, And I know it's generality, but that's kind of the way things are. There's a reason why movies like Transformers and G.I. Joe and all those make a lot of money. We've had this conversation.
And I think this probably goes back to because the movie that I'm thinking about, Locus Mortis actually brought up when we were talking about District 9 about good sci-fi movies. There was actually a thread we were all talking about what other sci-fi movies, and I had just rewatched this movie a couple of months ago. Was Fahrenheit 451 on cable, and man, I saw that when I was younger too. That movie came out in the 60s, so I had seen it at least a couple times, but I hadn't seen it in years, and I fully appreciate that movie. I know now more than I ever did before when I watched it. And it is because I think I am older, and because I just the stuff that movie deals with.
Right.
I think kind of went over my head.
You kind of encounter more of that in your life, so that way when you see it portrayed in fiction, it makes more sense to you. It more resonates with you, and so if you're younger, and I know I watched that video that pissed off 3 reviews, and I think I can see where they felt we were being a bit dismissive, so I feel bad for that. But we weren't saying that when you're younger, we're not saying that you're stupid and you don't know any better, okay? You just look at things differently. We're a couple of old fogies. I know we have young fanboys who post on our boards, and we had, when we were talking about, especially about the whole Dark Avengers bit with Morgan Le Fay getting her head ripped off.
Yeah.
And we had some younger fanboys talking about how, well, back in the 60s, they could have done this, that, and this and that, and you just, that's not how they write comic books now. And, and I was like, well, understand that comic books back then were kind of the same, EC Comics.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what you call a generation gap. You're always going to have different perspectives depending on the life experiences you've had, and sometimes I'm going to have a perspective that you're not going to get just because we have different experience.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I guess I shouldn't say less life experience, different life experience.
Yeah, and another few videos, getting back actually to what one of the things that I said about when Ben Wonder was coming on, is that we got a lot of heat for our feminism rants. A couple of them that we did in a row. One about Wonder Woman and one about feminism in general and how females have created comics. And there was a couple people who really just jumped the gun and just jumped down our throats about it. But it all goes back to personal experiences. Okay? I've had plenty of personal experience with everything that I talked about with feminism. I consider myself a feminist. I have best friends who are feminists. And through my life experiences, I've encountered all of these things with going to whether it's pro or anti-abortion rights and stuff like that. And it's all stuff that I can draw upon from my life experience. So everyone has different things, different ways, and different reasons, and it's because we're all different and we've all dealt with different things in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that you're stupid. It doesn't mean just because you're young. It just means that. And I don't regret what I said on my comment because I am older than a lot of you guys. If you're 16, I'm twice as old as you are, and
he's a crotchety uncle. So
I am. And but no, I believe that I have a lot more experience in certain aspects, and I'm just gonna trust what I say in the way that I think more so because maybe you just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
And that's not belittling you at all. That's just the way that I think.
And if somebody older than us wants to put us in our place, we'll listen. No worries. So, I will say this, and I find myself repeating this quite a bit. Guys, girls, we live in a great country where you can say whatever you feel like, and even in America where I can post these dumb little videos of us talking about comic books in a comic shop where if they have internet in Afghanistan and some kid in their Adobe hut is watching this, they're going, what the fuck are they talking about? Okay? What we do here in the grand scheme of things means very little. It's just us talking. It's never meant to offend. It's never meant to create controversy. I sure as hell am not Glenn Beck, who is going to say some of the stupidest stuff he can say just for the purposes of ratings and getting people angry and talking about him. Okay, this is just Jose and I giving you our sincere opinions, how we feel, and letting you have an equal voice in saying how you feel too. So, always understand that. And Jose can kind of, slough it off. I, on the other hand, I can't as much. I just don't like the idea of somebody being mad because of something I said off the cuff. So, that's just the way I feel. I'm a pleaser. That's what I do. I'm a pleaser. You have a look of disgust right now. You're just disgusted with me, aren't you?
I'm just disgusted with this whole ass rant. I think it's totally pointless.
Pointless? Maybe I should just call it last rambles, last apologies, last regrets.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to call it, last regrets.
I can go on record right now and say that this segment is the worst segment I've ever been a part of.
Dude, we've done worse, trust me.
No, this one is
Go back
bad.
to season 1. We've had some really bad segments in season 1.
Well,
really
but
bad.
We did it. We did because we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. But I didn't even like to be a part of this segment.
We still didn't know. We still don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, I told him. I don't know if he got it on tape, but I told him that I was doing.
He was doing this under protest.
Under protest. This segment under protest. It was completely useless. And
he doesn't like it.
No, I don't. Not one bit.
He doesn't like the fact that we're saying these things. See?
No, I think it's fucking already boring. I don't know why we're talking about it. I wish we could have talked about something else, but I don't know why you need to address the fact to placate certain people in our audience who, just so you can feel better about yourself. Dude, I never apologize for anything I've ever said on here, and I'm not going to start now, and I don't know no reason why you need to do it. It's a complete waste of time.
Okay, you're entitled to your opinion too. All right, well, he's not acting, folks. This is sincere, just so you know. All right. On that note, we're just going to bring this to a close. We look forward to your comments, your feedback. As always, we read everything, and keep giving us those trade paperback, suggestions.
Oh, also, so this never happens again. Could you guys maybe throw down some comments of stuff that you would like to see us talk about last rants? So Elliot might be able to write them down on a notepad, and if we ever get stuck with thinking of a last rant, if someone made a good comment, they want us to talk about this, let's talk about that. So we have to talk about this bullshit ever again.
Actually, there have been certain things that we've been asked to talk about, but again, like you said, I didn't write them down. So,
well, if you were as displeased with these last rants as I was, throw down a comment and give us your opinion on something you would like to hear us talk about, and then we'll probably get around to talking about
most of the stuff is just asking us to review stuff that I just haven't, like video games and stuff that I can't, I haven't even gotten to, so I don't have all the video game systems you have. I also wanted to think about putting together a virtual chat room for CCW TV viewers, if that's something that everyone would be interested in, that we could pick times that we can actually all get together and talk in real time. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, let us know. All right. Until next time, this has been Elliot and Jose coming to you from Dreamland Comics. Thank you for joining us, and
thank you for putting up with this last rant.
And we'll see you next time.